A Different Man is a drama, psychological drama film directed and written by Aaron Schimberg. It is about Edward. He is a man with facial deformities caused by facial tumors, not from birth, but a condition later on. And he lives a very squalid and lonely life. He's an aspiring actor, and he doesn't get to do much. He keeps to himself, very quiet existence. However, he gets a new neighbor. Ingrid is a beautiful woman who a little bit intrusive, and she doesn't really care about his face, but she just wants to, get to know him as a neighbor and things like that. He lives a very weird life. Essentially, his neighbors are sort of used to his face. However, some people still make comments, and you can tell he lives a very lonely life, and he sort of takes a liking to Ingrid, and they hang out and become friends. However, he also signs up for an experimental procedure which might heal his face. However, it ends up doing so, and deciding to ditch his old persona behind, he fakes his own death and starts living as Guy, a new handsome man. And we get a time skip, and he is living his life as a hotshot real estate agent until Ingrid shows up again, and she is making a play based off his life, and he can't help but not stay away because he's interested in what she's going to portray him as, and it ends up being a very metaphysical sort of story because he wants to. He's an aspiring actor, so he still has those acting chops, and he wants to play the part, but he's very handsome, so he wears an old rubber mask version of himself, and she doesn't notice, I guess, but it ends up being a really interesting film when they introduce this sort of antithesis to Edward. Oswald is a man with also facial deformities. However, people don't seem to care that he looks different. In fact, he's a bon vivant, and he can play the saxophone, he does yoga, he's got all sorts of things going on for him. He's lived a very interesting life. He's very intelligent, he's very wealthy, and just sort of mystifies Edward now as Guy, trying to figure out how come people like this guy but they don't like me when I look like that. And he's trying to sort of reclaim his former face and persona through the play that Ingrid is doing, and it ends up being a sort of clash of artistry. This movie is really interesting because it's trying its hardest to not fall into the same trappings of other films. It's very Lynchian, like we've got The Elephant Man, and it also could fall into like a Kafkaesque nightmare with the with the old apartment. There's like a leak coming from his ceiling. There's a common theme of pests showing up no matter where he is, and the movie tries to dip away from those sort of common tropes and themes we've seen before with these kinds of movies. Kafkaesque is the word, like The Double. But this movie, it decides to pivot away from certain areas, and I really liked how the movie at least took some effort to not copy or be similar to things we've seen before. The movie's very surprising, an amazing performance from Sebastian Stan. I honestly did not know that he had the prosthetics at the beginning of the film. I thought that was Adam Pearson at first, and but then Adam Pearson shows up later. So I haven't seen Under the Skin in a long time. That's why. But the Ingrid actress is really great too. It's basically a three-hander. Those three, getting along together and trying to make this play. And the movie's just really interesting. It's got a lot of themes about identity and shallowness, and how people can still be bad people even if they're beautiful or ugly, regardless of how they look on the outside. People are made up of things on the inside too, and it's just it was very cerebral, but also really confusing, but also a satire and dark comedy, so it had a lot of funny moments, and I really enjoyed this film. I give A Different Man an 8 out of 10.